This is the only video you're going to need for building automations and workflows inside Go High Level in 2025. I'm going to be going through everything in incredible detail and why my favorite feature of Go High Level is the automations tab. So we're going to jump in right now. We're going to go through it from front to back. If you're a beginner, this is going to be great for you. If you are someone getting back into it, automations, that kind of thing, this will be very helpful as well. So every Go High Level account has access to automations unless your agency has turned it off. And if they have, then maybe you should chat to them. So if you, on the left-hand side, take a look, we've got automations here and we have a bunch of different things we can take a look at. Most importantly, you just want to create workflows. You don't need to worry about the global workflow settings too much. You don't need to go into any of these, creating smart lists, whatever. You just need to get started. And the way that you can do that is click on Create Workflow. So if we click on Create Workflow, we're going to get 4 different options. We're going to get Start from Scratch, Select from a Template, Import from a Campaign, Company-Based Workflow Beta. The bottom 2, I'd probably just leave alone, but the top 2, you probably want to use. I'm going to start with templates because they are a really easy way to get started. And if we open this up, it gives you a couple of different areas where you can get started. For example, if you want to nurture a new lead, you can probably use this template here. If we click on preview, it's going to give us a little bit of information. So when a customer replies, it's going to have a slight delay so it doesn't feel like a WhatsApp bot. Then it's going to send a WhatsApp message. Now, for this example, I'm not going to use this one. I'm probably just going to build it from scratch, but let's have a quick look at some other templates here. So a customer booked appointment is a really common automation inside Go High Level. So if we preview this, we can take a quick look and see when an appointment trigger goes through in a calendar, then send a confirmation email and then send some follow-ups leading up to the actual appointment. I'm going to build this automation from scratch. So we're going to go through that after I show you the basics, but we're just going to create workflow and we're going to start from scratch. And whilst that loads, I'll drink some water. So when we first load in, we see a blank canvas. Now, there's a few things. We can go back to the workflows. We've got our title at the top. We've got who's editing the current workflow, which is me. And then we can see the update history and then save. And then along the top bar here, we've got the builder, we've got settings, we've got enrollment history and execution logs. Before I get into the builder, really quickly, settings. The most important 3 settings are going to be the ones at the top here. So allow re-entry. What this means is if a contact has gone through the automation workflow once, can they re-enter? Most of the time it's a yes. Sometimes it's going to be a no. If it's a one-off appointment, etc., and you only want them to be able to enroll once, then you would have that selected. Allow multiple opportunities. So allows a contact with multiple opportunities to enter the workflow as separate executions. This is a little bit complicated. Most of you won't have multiple opportunities per contact, but just leave it on by default. And then stop on response. Ends a workflow when a contact responds to the workflow. For example, if I book an appointment and you send me a confirmation text message and I respond saying, great, thanks. Do you want me to be kicked out of the workflow if I respond? If you're doing a booking automation, probably not. You still want me to get the reminders. But if it is, a one-time marketing message or something like that, and you need to have people confirming their recipient of it and they reply with, I got it, then it can kick me out of the workflow so they don't get reminders. That's probably a good option too. Then below that, we have the sender details. So the from name and the from email, you can put in whatever you like here. So long as you have your sender domain in your settings, you'll be able to customize this. And then your from number. So once you've registered a phone number with GHL, you can select which number you want to use. So jumping into the builder, we're going to take a quick look at the triggers and actions. And then on the left-hand side here, there's a little menu bar here as well. So we've got Workflow AI. We can ask it to help us with some workflows. I'm going to ignore that for now. We've got sticky notes where you can leave little notes on your workflow and you just double click and say workflow guide. And then you can leave notes for yourself. This is really helpful if you forget or if you're still new to this, you can leave notes of what each trigger does and it will help you remember or which action does what, etc. And then you can leave specific notes on the workflow and you can see the statistics that are from your workflow executions. So again, probably not going to be using this bar too much. You're mainly just going to be using the builder. So let's jump in and start using the builder. The first thing that we have in a workflow is a trigger. So whenever a workflow runs, it's always a trigger and then an action. So a trigger could be something like a contact was created, an appointment was created, a document was signed, and then an action might be send SMS or send email or send contract. These things, there are lots of triggers and there are lots of automations. I recommend just getting acquainted with a couple, and then as time goes on, you can start increasing your complexity of your workflows. But let's jump in. So we're going to start with a really simple one, which is we're going to click on add new trigger, and we're going to try and find when a contact is created. So on the left-hand side here, we get this add trigger menu where all of these triggers can be used to update our workflow or start our workflow rather. If we have a look and go to the very top, we will see the contact-based triggers. So if we look at contact changed, contact created, that's the one that we're after. Then we've got contact D&D, contact tagged, etc. So if we're going to click on contact created, it's going to bring up this little box here where it's still the add a trigger, gives you a little bit more information if you need it. And then we've got our workflow trigger and then our workflow trigger name. So the trigger name is just going to be what comes up here. If I hit save trigger, you'll see contact created. But if I change this to contact was created, it will change that to this. Now, right now, if I was just to leave this as it is, this would run on every single contact creation inside our sub account. So if we have anyone created, it will run this automation. Now, as a catch-all, that's pretty much a bad idea. So the reason why it's a bad idea is because you may have someone who downloads a free resource, or you might have someone who books a call with you, and that might be their first interaction with you as a business, and a contact is created at both of those times. Now, if we left this the way it is, it's going to run this automation at both of those times, which is a little bit awkward. So the first thing we're going to do is add some filtering to this contact created section. So if we click on add filters here, we can then define further what our conditions of entry are for the automation. So for this filter, we click on select, and then we can go through all of these fields or contact type, email, hashtag, phone number, and we can manipulate that information to match what we want our entrance criteria to be. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to click on hashtag, because this is pretty common. So if we have created a contact and they have the tag equals to, let's say, warm lead. So imagine this scenario. You've got a Zapier automation where you collect your type form responses for new leads. And when you create that contact inside Zapier, sending it into GHL, and you have the tag warm lead, it's going to run this automation. So we're going to click save trigger here. Now this will only run on warm leads. So our workflow name is going to be something like contact created with warm lead tag. And we save that, and it's got that information there. One false habit that you should get into is saving your workflows. Go High Level is unfortunately a little bit notorious with saving workflows and saving steps. If you're not on it all the time, then you refresh your page, you'll lose your work. So now that we have our trigger and we have our filter and we've got a name, we're going to do an action from below. If we click on this plus, it's going to bring up the actions menu where there's again, a multitude of different things that we can do based on the information that we essentially need to work with. So the first thing that I'm going to do is if a contact was created with a warm lead status, then naturally I'm going to want to contact them as soon as possible. So I'm actually going to send an internal notification, and that is going to be to myself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this type of notification, and I'm going to make it an SMS. And then I'm going to, instead of doing a specific user in this account, because it's just a testing account, I'm going to set up a custom number, and I'm just going to type in a fake phone number. That should be one too many. There we go. And all I'm going to do is going to say, hey, Matt, you got a new lead. Here's their name. And what I would do to get their name, I would click on this little custom values tag, and then the contact full name is just this placeholder here. So if you don't know how to use placeholders, it just means that all of these values across your CRM will be related to the contact in the current workflow. And if you reference their phone or email, you'll be able to replace these placeholders with that information. One thing that I should say is, unlike other workflow or automation platforms, every Go High level workflow action has to have a contact associated with it. So what that means is all of the triggers are contact related or opportunity related, and that then ties back to a contact. So it is always associated with a contact. So these custom variables will always work. Unless they don't have a value, then they will just be blank. So if we hit save action, now we want to probably communicate with this client, potential client too. So instead of sending a SMS straight away or an email straight away, I'm going to add a wait step, because it's a bit weird to submit a form and automatically get a response. I'm going to wait a couple of minutes just to make it feel a little bit less overwhelming. So if I click on let's just get out of this so I can step through it. So I click on the plus again, and then I find in recent actions, I've got the wait step, but if I just want to search for it, I can search for wait. And then it's going to ask me, how long do I want to wait in minutes, hours, or days? There is an advanced window where you can set it to reply within certain times, but I'm just going to ignore that for the minute. But at the wait for drop down here, it's not just time delays that we can delay for. So if we click on this, there is actually a few different filters or different ways that we can delay that are available in the wait step. So the first one is time delay. It's probably the most common. The second most common is definitely wait for the appointment time of that workflow. Now, this wouldn't work in this workflow. However, if we did a booking-based workflow, so someone booked a call with us, we could do an event/appointment time workflow, which will allow us to then send messages a certain amount of time before the appointment and after the appointment. This is really beneficial for sending reminders. I'll do that after this one. So I'm just going to leave it as time delay. We're going to set 4 minutes to be the delay period, and we're going to press save action. Now, once we have that there, we can then send our SMS. So different to sending an internal notification, sending an external notification, you can just type in SMS and send SMS will pop up, and it will have this information that you can fill out on the right-hand side. So I'm just going to say, hey, and then I'm going to put one of our custom variable tags here. So, hey, full name, just saw you inquired, keen to chat. You can reply here, blah, 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 and then you can start a conversation. Cool. And right now we have our first ever workflow. If we hit save here on the top right-hand corner, and if we turn this on, so click it to publish and then hit save again, this will then run every single time a contact with the warm lead tag is created, which I think is pretty darn cool. The second example I'm going to go through is a little bit more complicated. We are going to create a calendar really quickly, and I think do I have a test calendar in here? Let's have a look. I think I do. Yeah, great. So I have a calendar in here, and I'm going to create a booking workflow that runs when an appointment is scheduled. So we're going to create workflow again. We're going to start from scratch, and we are going to jump back in on a clean slate. I'm going to change this to booked a workflow. Sorry, booked a call, not booked a call, not booked a workflow. And then our trigger is going to be a customer booked appointment trigger. Now, if we have a look, there's actually two different triggers for bookings. The difference between these two is customer booked appointment means that the booking was made from a booking widget, so like on a website or just from a link. The appointment status catches the ones that are scheduled inside of GHL. Now, what I mean by inside of GHL is, I'll just go back really quickly and I'll open up the calendars tab. This isn't strictly automations, but it is at the same time. If you were to book an appointment, so if I was just to click right now, and double click on that and click new. And then if I type in this information with the booked appointment, and in the calendar, copy of Fernando's fitness coaching, appointment title, Matt, whatever, and then team member, whatever, and then select the contact and put in an example. And if I was to hit book appointment, the workflow would not run if it was customer booked appointment, because technically they didn't. But the workflow that would run is appointment scheduled, so the other one. So let's jump back in and I'll show you. So this one here, and I'll show you the two differences. So we click on add a trigger and then we type in booking and it will come up. So appointment status would have run for the example that I just showed you, but customer booked appointment wouldn't have. So by default, appointment status, this one will run even if the customer books an appointment too, just to make it more confusing. So I would stick with appointment status is your trigger. Now we need to do some filtering to make sure that we don't catch all of our appointment status updates, and we need to make sure we don't catch all of our calendars too, because you might have specific calendars for specific team members. So in our filters, our event type is normal. If we click on these, you can see any, normal, or reoccurring. And then our filter again, we click on add, and our appointment status is going to be confirmed because they've just booked an appointment and it's confirmed. And then we add another filter here, in calendar, copy of Fernando's fitness coaching. Now, only bookings inside of this calendar that have been confirmed, so when they are booked, they're automatically confirmed, and are a normal event, not a reoccurring event, will trigger this workflow. So we press save. And then with this workflow, I would say it's totally fine to send an SMS straight away. So if we send an SMS straight away and say, hey, and then remember our custom value here, contact full name, thanks for booking an appointment. Your booking details are as follows. And then we would say meeting details. And now if we go into our custom variables again, click on this tag, we can find more information about our booking and plug in some custom values. So if we look at the appointment section, and we can see all of the information that we have here and different ways of combining that information. So we've got appointment ID, which you don't really need to send. Title is just what I wrote. It's like the example I did was Matt, greater than, less than Matt. And then there's start date and time, start date, start time, end date time, end date, end time. So they're just the information either combined or split. Day of the week, month, name of the month, etc., time zone, cancellation link, reschedule link. The most important one, in my opinion, is start date and time, because it structures it nice and neatly. And then you would say location. And then if we do this one here and scroll down, we see meeting location. It will allow you to have the custom generated Zoom link or Google Meet link, or if it's in person, it will say the address of where the booking is set to. And if we hit save action, we've got now an SMS that is a confirmation SMS, spelled that correctly. There we go. And now we probably want to send some messages to remind them to actually show up. So the first thing that we're going to do is click on the plus, and then we're going to click on the wait. And then what we're going to do, we're going to change time delay like we used before to event appointment time. Wait until before or after event start time or appointment time. So what we do when we click on this, it's going to have the first box is whether it's going to be before, after, or at the exact time. So I tend to always do before, and then I will either send like an after one to ask for feedback if that's something you want to do. So until when before, let's say 1 day beforehand, before the event. And then if we look below, if the timing of this wait step is already in the past, how should the contact proceed? What this means is if you booked an appointment for, it's 1:24 now, if you booked an appointment for 3 p.m., that's technically inside the 1 day waiting period. So do I want to skip this message and go to the next step? Or do I want to like push it all through and get all the information? Most of the time it's skip all outbound communications, which we are then going to hit save. And I'm going to show you a neat little trick and to save yourself some time. Because right now this workflow is going to be mostly the same for the rest of the way down, because I'm going to send 3 follow-ups and then 1 after the fact automation. So what I'm going to do is click on these 3 dots here, and it's actually going to give me some information about this little node. It's going to allow me to add notes, which I'm not going to do. but it also allows me to copy, move, and delete it. So if I click on copy, it's going to give me the option to copy this one specific action or copy all actions from here. I'm going to copy all actions because it's going to make my life a hell of a lot easier. So once I've got those two things copied, I can hover over this plus and click the paste below button, which will then put the two automation steps below it. So now I can quickly jump in and say, hey, just a quick reminder for our appointment tomorrow. And then I would say, thanks, Matt. We save that. And then what we're going to do, because this is waiting 24 hours in order to send this one, we're going to change this to a little bit less time. So instead of 1 day, I'm going to do 4 hours beforehand. So not 40 hours, 4 hours. And then we can hit paste again. And then we got our information in here as well. So thanks. What we're going to do is go, hey, contact name, not long until our appointment today. And then I would just go like chat soon. You can change all of this. You don't have to have it exactly the same way that I have. And then I'm just going to copy this last. Actually, I'm going to just paste both. So this is the wait step that we've got is 1 day still. I'm going to change this to 5 minutes before the appointment. And then I would change this to we go live in 5. And then just send the information. Great. Now this last wait step is I'm actually going to change it. So right now it's set to before 1 day, which would just not make sense. But we're going to change this to after. So 1 day after. And what this allows you to do is, I'm just going to copy this workflow step, allows you to send a message after the fact, obviously. So I would say, hey, thanks for your time yesterday. Did you have any additional questions? Now, this SMS, you may not want to send every single time. But for example, if you do sales calls and you normally follow up a day after they say, oh, maybe I don't know if I want to do it, you can automate that. And if they do sign up, you can actually remove them from this workflow. So what I'm going to do now as my next example is actually based off pipelines. So right now we haven't actually mentioned pipelines, and I might just do a little bit of information about a pipeline first before we get started, because inside these workflows, you're going to be creating pipeline stages opportunities for pipeline stages. And it's a majority of the stuff that you're going to need to actually have a functional pipeline is done by automations. So if we have a look at this really quickly, I've got a standard pipeline here where it's got inquired, booked 15-minute call, booked 60-minute call, closed deal, no show, no sale, active client. Really quickly, if we wanted our booked calls to go into either one of these booked call 15 minutes or booked call 60 minutes, all we would really need to do is go into this workflow at the very top, hit the plus and type in opportunity. And I'm going to use create update opportunity. And what this allows us to do is fill out this information here. So right now it says the create update action will soon be depreciated. Existing workflows will be unaffected. However, create opportunity and update opportunity actions will be the actions moving forward. I'm just going to use this one for now because it's the one I like. So action name, create opportunity. In pipeline sales, which is the name of this pipeline, KOA sales, in pipeline stage, booked call 15 minutes, we're going to put in the information of opportunity name this person, so full name, and then the opportunity source is just going to be booking widget. This doesn't really matter, but you would put like type form if they came from type form. And then in opportunity value, you would usually put the lifetime value of a client. For example, if your lifetime of your client, they will spend about $1,500 with you, then put in $1,500. The status you can just set to open, and we're going to hit save action. So now what is going to happen is whenever this workflow runs, it's either going to create or update an opportunity in the pipeline. So if the pipeline opportunity already exists, say it's in inquired, not booked. So for example, if they used our first workflow automation and they created If they inquired and then we created their contact, we could have them put into inquired not booked. But if they then followed up and made a booking, it would put them into booked call 15 minutes. However, if they didn't do the first step and just did the second step, they would still get put into the appointments booking stage in our pipeline. Very important to understand because people get this confused. So what we would look at now is the next evolution of this workflow is to actually close a deal. So what happens when you close a deal is most of the time it's going to be a manual intervention on your end. Up until now, most of this pipeline has been automated. But when you actually take a call and you close them, there's no real way of it knowing of what you've closed them on the call or not. So you need to drag them into one of the outcomes. Usually it's closed deal, but sometimes they no-show and sometimes they no-sale. So instead of that, we're just going to go with closed deal. So you click and drag them into closed deal. Now, we don't have a workflow that does anything for this one just yet, but we're going to create one. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to workflows. And there's one thing that I'm going to need in this workflow, and it is a contract. Because when you close a deal with someone, you should have a contract that stipulates your terms of engagement. So if we look at the payment section of GHL, and then we go to documents and contracts and templates, we can create a new template and we can create a contract. So what we're going to do is open that up and we're going to hit new, and we're going to hit new template. And I'm just going to keep it really simple. I'm not going to put anything crazy. I'm literally going to put one sentence and a signature field. So we're going to change this to new, we're just going to call it contract. And then on the left-hand side here, there is the button to add an element. Then you can go through and do some other things in here, but we're just going to go add an element. The first thing is a text block. So you just click and drag it. We're going to say example contract. And then below here, I'm going to click on the plus again, and I'm just going to drag in a signature box. So this is where your contact will sign. And we're just going to hit save. I'm keeping it so simple right now. Obviously, you would have a proper contract in here. If we click back to the automations tab, so we're just going to get out of here, go back, and we make the automation for our closed deal, we're going to send that contract to our prospect and our client because we want to lock them in. So we're going to press on create workflow, and we're going to go start from scratch. And what we're going to do is give this a name. So closed deal, pipeline stage changed, because that's going to be our trigger. It's going to be the pipeline stage going from booked call to closed deal. So when you manually drag it across, we're going to click on add new trigger. We're going to type in pipeline stage changed. It's not going to be opportunity updated or opportunity created, which it might think that it is, but it's going to be pipeline stage changed. And then in here, we're going to add our filters, because right now it's on any pipeline stage changing. So kind of like how the contact, if it had no filtering on it, it would just be any contact created. This one is going to be any pipeline stage created, or whatever it is. It's just not going to be good enough for us. So we're going to filter it. We're going to click on this filter here. So in pipeline KOA sales. And then our next one is going to be pipeline stage is closed deal. So we're going to hit save trigger. So now it will only run when we drop things in this closed deal section. The first thing that we are going to do is send an SMS saying, hey, actually, I'm going to save this, but I'm going to just jump in and put the first thing as the contract. So we're going to click on the plus. We're going to type in contract. It might actually be, I typed in contract. Yeah, cool. Send documents and contracts. And then what it's going to do is going to say from user Fernando Bulstrode, which is an example, send this contact directly via email and SMS. Let's do both. A contract. So what did I call it? Did I make sure I called it something? I thought I called it an example. I called it contact. Hilarious. Okay, never mind. Save action. So right now, this will send a contract that is associated with the contact. So it's already pre-filled with their information. They know it's that person who's going to sign the information that we need to move forward. And if it's going to send an email and an SMS that we don't need to program, but it's already there. And in here, we're going to say, hey, just sent you the contract via SMS and email. Email. Let me know if you have any issues. Cool. And then we're going to save action. Now, I'm going to add some wait and SMSs in here because we want to send follow-ups to make sure that they actually complete it. So the first one is going to be 60 minutes. And we're going to copy all actions from here like we did before. And we're going to change this to any questions about the contract. Save again. We're going to change this wait step to 120 minutes. And we're going to paste again. Did you need a hand with the contract? Cool. And we're just going to hit save. Now we can probably delete this one. That's enough follow-ups for the minute, but you could do as many as you like. So we're going to hit save. And now, anytime a deal goes into that closed deal contract, that closed deal new sale stage, it will send that contract. Most people in this situation would send their onboarding information, but I don't do that. I send my onboarding information only after the contract has been signed, with my people I work with. So now we're going to take a look at this one, and it's a little bit more advanced. And it's pretty simple though, but it is a step up. We're going to do a workflow that is called contract signed. And our trigger is going to be contract documents and contracts. Then our filter is going to be our status is completed, and our template is contact, which is the example I sent. And now I would have an email in here with welcome to XYZ, and then onboarding informations. And then what we would have is another step where we add a tag of active client. So I haven't mentioned tags at all, but you would then tag them with active client. So you type in active client and click on add new tag and save action. And we hit save and we're done. Now, that is a really, really simple way of setting up automations. I think I've covered a lot of the basics. What I'm going to do now is go through the list of triggers and just highlight a couple that are, in my opinion, very useful. So if we click on this one here and we have a look at our triggers, you'll see all the recent ones that we did, but inside the contact section are probably where you're going to trigger a lot of these. So birthday reminder, so on people's birthday, send them a message. Contact D&D, if someone replies with stop, this will allow you to update their information. Contact tag, so when a tag is added. A custom date reminder, a note added, a note changed, and then there's other things like a form submitted. So when a form is submitted, do you want to run an automation based off that? Survey is pretty much the same thing. Facebook lead form submitted, also important. LinkedIn form submitted if you use LinkedIn. Appointment status, we went over those. Appointment status changing, that's fine. Opportunity status changing. And then inside here, payments. So if you're using GHL to run payments, when an invoice is created or completed, you can run an automation. If you have Shopify, you can link it. That's fine. Communities as well. TikTok, comment on a video, etc. Really cool. And then going through the actions step, because it's not the same. So we've got contacts. We can edit and manipulate contacts. We can update custom records. So this is a new section of GHL. It's come out within the last year. And what is it? Remove associated records from workflow. Oh, that's fine. Communication, send emails, send SMS, send a Slack message, send a call, voicemail, Messenger, so Facebook Messenger, Instagram DM, heaps of different things, WhatsApp, and then you can send data to Google Sheets, etc. There is a lot of things that you can do with logic as well. So when I say logic, I mean custom operations. And in the situation, for example, you may have a contact form where you have a preference in there. It might be if you're an online coach, for example, and you ran a business that did nutrition only and training only workout plans, you would then be able to have that as one of your form questions, as like a select box. And if you want to run have a one workflow per that form, you could have this if else here where you can set different pathways based on different answers. So for example, if we click on this and click on contact details and say, I'm just going to use postal code. Say for example, postal code is 3000, so Melbourne City. And then if we add a branch and then we type in postal code again, which won't work. So if we go contact details and scroll down and find postal code, postal code is 4220, which is Burleigh. If we save that, you'll see that there's 2 branches now. So if this person who signed this contract apparently lives in Melbourne, they'll go down one way. If they live on the Gold Coast in Burleigh, they go down another way. So this just allows you to manipulate data even further. It's a little bit more advanced. If you want a more in-depth video in workflows, then I can definitely do that. But if we just click on this plus again, we'll scroll down. There's other different functions in here that you can use, but for the most part, you won't really be using them. You will just really want to do the main things that I just showed you how to do. You can use ChatGPT inside here. You can update your opportunities. You can send Stripe charges. You can add information to your marketing analytics. It's really almost endless. And then over on this right-hand side, there's additional apps that have been built by other people that you can use as well. So you can Typeform, Google Contacts, ClickUp, Basecamp, Airtable, so many things you can use. Well, I think that is a lot of information. I think you have a really good understanding of Go High Level workflows now and setting up basic workflows. If you have the desire for more information, please comment and let me know below. If you're looking to automate your business and implement some systems to make you more money or save you more time, feel like you're not working 24/7, you can inquire with me below. I do also have a school group where I teach people on how to automate their businesses too. That's paid. It's like $14 or something, just to keep out the spammers, to be honest. I will see you guys again soon. I hope you enjoyed. Bye.